reasons responsible for the land degradation in a present. There are a number of factors are responsible for the land degradation in India. For example, the commercialization of agriculture. Commercialization of agriculture. Second, wrong methodologies of farming. Faulty methods of the farming in which we try to extract to produce as a more from a fields, for which we use some modern techniques of farming. For example, as a excessive use of fertilizers, insecticides, it decreases the quality of a land resource. That's why the land is degraded. Clear? Third, deforestation. At a large scale of a deforestation has occurred for obtain the wood from the forest resource. It has also leads to the land degradation because roots of a trees, they hold the topmost layer of the earth crust. Topmost layer of the earth crust, which has not washed away through the rainwater. So that's why the deforestation has also one of the reasons responsible for land degradation. Floods caused when the water discharge from the dams leads to the floods. It is also the reason responsible for land degradation. Land degradation, expansion of the urbanization, expansion of cities. When cities are expanded, they encroach, they cover the area of agriculture fields. Agricultural fields means a land area under the agriculture has decreasing. So the quality of a land also decreases. Next, as a chemical effluents, which are discharged from the chemical effluents discharged in industries. So those chemical solid materials which are discharged from industries or cities, these are dumped on open areas. Due to the dumped on open areas, garbage dumped on open area, through which as a land it becomes degraded. Clear? Now the second part of the question, it was consisting of the 1 mark. So out of these land degradation causes, if you are writing as a 4, these are sufficient for the 2 marks. Now methodology through which we can conserve land resource in a coastal and dry regions, that is only as a shelter belts. With growth by planting the trees, a strip of a trees when we are growing on a coastal areas or either at the margins of our deserts, it reduces the impact of dash. Yes, anybody? It reduces growth of a shelter belts along the margins of a coast or deserts. It reduces the impact of no. Anybody? Desertification. Now the deserts are expanding towards the southwestern parts of Punjab. Deserts. So such deserts, it can be their expansion can restrict if the shelter belts are growing at the margins of a deserts. At the margins of deserts. Same as if the shelter belts are growing along the coastal areas. Along the coastal areas, then the tidal waves, sea waves, it will not erode, it will not occur as a soil erosion. Wahan soil erosion aega jabki in a coastal areas when we grow as a trees, the strip of a trees which reduce as the velocity of a wind, then under such circumstances erosion will not occur in coastal areas. Clear? Desertification reduce in our deserts through the shelter belts and soil erosion reduce in our coastal areas by the shelter belts. Clear? This was the answer of the first question, which was of the 3 marks. 3 marks. Second question, it was that why do you think that the introduction of a public interest litigation, PIL, in the 1980s is a significant step in ensuring access to the justice for all? PIL, public interest litigation. So what is their meaning? Meaning, public interest litigations are generally arise the issues. Those issues are cases which are filed in a Supreme Court and a High Court, which are related to the mass population. Mass population means the earlier that case which was introduced in a Supreme Court or either High Court, but due to as a lack of the evidences, that case it postponed for the future or the dates are continued. Under such circumstances, through the PIL, we can reopen a case in a High Court and a Supreme Court because such cases are solved on a priority basis. There are a large number of people are associated with the such type of cases. That's why they are known as a PIL. PIL. First of all, the meaning, it should be as a clear for the examiner. PIL, public interest litigation, in which cases are introduced. These are begin in a courts, high courts and a Supreme Court, which are sorted out by the courts in a priority basis. So in the 1980s, now let's move towards a question. In 1980s, the mechanism of a public interest litigation, it increased as access to the justice because it allowed the organizations and individuals to file as a petition, to file the case in a high court and the Supreme Court, high court and Supreme Court, which are related to the violation of their rights. Violation of their rights. So in a legal process, is a greatly impact or spread among the people through the different means of media. PILs, the cases of a PIL reach over the individuals which are related with the large number of individuals directly and indirectly engaged with that particular PIL. They are solved by the courts on a priority basis. Clear? Third question, it was that, what do you mean by the parliament? And discuss its functions. Discuss its functions. So many number of students still having as a doubt related with this. Parliament is the law-making agency. Parliament is the law-making agency, law-making house. Very good, Kathy. Law-making agency which has comprised the two houses, Lok Sabha, Rajya Sabha. Lok Sabha and Rajya Sabha. That's it. 1 mark. Meaning is clear? Everybody? Parliament. What do you mean by the parliament? It is as a law-making agency which has comprised the two houses, Lok Sabha and Rajya Sabha. So 1 mark. Remaining functions, these were comprised of the 3 marks. 1 plus 3, 4 marks. First 2 questions of the 3 marks each. Third question was a 1 plus 4. So when you are right about the financial functions, legislative functions, executive functions, you have to clear about the meaning, what it means. When we are right as a financial functions of a parliament, it means the budgets are introduced in a parliament. Budget is introduced in both the houses of the parliament, Lok Sabha and Rajya Sabha. Budget is a procurement of a money for the upcoming year. Upcoming year. For example, in your families, the parents, your parents, they are procure certain number of money for a different needs. For example, to pay as the school fees of an individual child. Some money it has a procured for the medical. It may be possible that a medical ailment occurred in a family. Under such circumstances, the family members or parents, they procure the money, same as government has procured a money. Government procure a money for the upcoming year. That is the financial year which begins from 1st April towards 31st March in every year. For that upcoming year, the government needs the funds. Such funds are procured under the budget, and budget has introduced in a parliament. This is as a financial function. Legislative function of the parliament is it is as the agency which makes the law. Different stages are associated with the making of a law. Parliament. Third is a parliament gives the opportunity to people through which they can represent themselves in society. People can represent themselves in a politics through which they can solve their problems. They can solve their problems. The problems associated with the people, it can be as a solved through the political representation given to the people. Clear? So these are the functions of parliament. Next question it was asked. Next question was what are the features of a Indian constitution? As we discussed, 8 of the features are there. For example, fundamental rights. Somebody right as a right to expression, right to liberty, means right to freedom, right against exploitation. The person, that particular child wrote the 6 fundamental, only explained about the fundamental rights, which is one of the aspect of a Constitution of India. One of the aspect of Constitution of India. I think you forget that it was as a 5 marks question. 5 marks question, it should be as a vary from the word limit from the 150 to the 180 words. 150 to 180 वर्ड्स आप एक सिंगल टर्म लिख रहे हैं, सेक्युलरिज्म, फेडरलिज्म, सेपरेशन ऑफ पावर, पार्लियामेंट्री फॉर्म ऑफ गवर्नमेंट, फंडामेंटल लॉ, फंडामेंटल राइट्स, partially rigid and partially flexible, and it is a written in form. These headings are correct, but the explanation needed. Explanation needed. Clear, Hariom? Explanation needed. You are explaining past and you are marked as the organs of government are the legislative, executive, and judiciary. Sufficient. It has explains the parts are divided in our country at the different agencies, different authorities. Different levels भी लिख देते हो, it is also sufficient for the separation of powers. Fundamental rights, there are those necessary conditions given to the citizens of India through which they can live as a social well-being in India. So with them as the fundamental rights, then the point it will be as a complete. Clear? Next is secularism. When you write the secularism, meaning of a secularism and how the India has followed the secular idea, you have to explain. Clear? Parliamentary form of the government, which proved that the two houses are responsible for the making of a law in India. Clear? Indian Constitution is a written in form. Next feature, Indian Constitution is a written in form which is not possible to change. Clear? It is as the permanent in nature. But partially the Constitution of India is a rigid and flexible. Rigid means we can't change the Constitution, but we can change the parts of it. Clear? And last question was differentiate between the ferrous and the non-ferrous minerals. It was as an easy distinguish. Ferrous means those minerals which are contain some metal content, iron content, and those do not contain as a iron content are the non-ferrous. So the 5 points, these were as a mandatory for a differentiate between these two terms, ferrous and non-ferrous. Ferrous are a good conductor of heat and electricity, whereas non-ferrous are not good conductor of heat and electricity. Third, as they are having as a magnetic properties, etc. When you are explaining as a 4 points, then the example will consider as a 5 point. Example, it will be considered under such circumstances as the 5th point. If you are writing as only the example, it will not consider a point. Clear? So the functions of a parliament. Functions of parliament. They borrowed as the idea from other constitution reason. They made as a such kind of a constitution which do not make the differences with any community. Ideal form of a constitution desired. For this, they took as the examples. Clear? Otherwise, their ideas are not included. If some of the ideas are included, for example, as a fundamental rights are included in a Constitution of India, which brought from the US, Constitution of the US, but there are the modifications also took place. For example, right to freedom of religion. This is our fundamental right, but it is not applicable in the US. In the United States of America, they are promoting their own religion. US is not following as a secular ideals. They are basically the theocratics, which are having as a one particular religion. But in our country, there is as the secular idea has followed. The reason is India and Nepal are only the countries where the Hinduism has existed, which has following as a secular ideas. Secular ideas because of the presence of a different religious communities. Clear? There is not any of a religion is our national religion. Either their Hindus are in a majority, but still as all religions are equal. All religions are equal. Hindus comprise of 57% in a total population of India. 57% in total population, near about 32 by the Muslims, 2.7 as the Sikh, but still all these communities are the equivalent. No differences are there. So secularism, the Indian Constitution allows the individuals the freedom to live by their religious beliefs and practices as they interpret these. Clear? As they interpret these. So secularism refers to the separation of religion from the state. There is not any of a state it's having their state religion. All the Indian states are also following as a secular idea. They are followed the secular idea because all the states which are inhabited by the different number of religious communities. Their best example is your state Punjab, where majority of a Sikh community has living, but still there are the Hindus and the Muslims are there. The newer district which has separated from the Sangrur, Malerkotla, which has comprised 90% of total population Muslims. एक Sikh Punjabi state के अंदर there is as the another one of the district as there which comprises 90% of the total population belong from the Muslim community. So that is the secular idea. Clear? This is as a feature of the constitution. Secularism is the feature of constitution. So as per the existing democratic structure of India, where the indirect form of democracy has followed, within a country, there are different religious groups, different linguistic groups, different cultural groups. They are independently work without any differences. In our country, there is, as the rule of the majority is there in a political structure. Rule of majority is in political structure, but that rule of majority has not applicable among the religious groups, where the Hindus are in majority, but still Hinduism is not our national religion. Clear? It is not our national religion. The framers of a constitution of India, they take that this thing in their mind that if they make as any of a religion as our national religion, then it would be have the discrimination with the other number of religious communities. Till there, any doubts? Yes. Anybody having any queries till there? Whenever you are explaining the content, keep one thing in your mind: what marks are asked by the examiner. If you are writing as the only 3 words in a first question, which has comprising 3 marks, 3 words, for example, deforestation, agriculture as a causes of a land degradation, and the shelter belts in their mitigation strategy, the conservation of a land degradation, then the examiner, it will not give you the more than the 1.5 or a 2. You can't demand. So as per the according to the marks, you have to explain the content. It should be as a clear for the examiner. Any of a teacher who has checking it, he has examiner. Secularism. The Indian constitution has followed a secular state. It has secular state which can as realized on the basis of a certain objectives. The first is there are some of the members do not dominate over the other members of the same religious communities. If any of a resourceful, powerful person is there, powerful person which is living in a one particular religious community, it can't dominate over the other members of that particular religious community, because every citizen has the single value, their same value. For example, if the Narendra Modi cast their vote, same time as Surinder Singh cast their vote, their value of the vote is similar, because both are the citizens of India. Clear? So second, as the one religious community does not dominate over the other. If the one majority group is there, it doesn't mean that it can dominate over the other number of religious groups. This is also not as an objective set. It is as an objective set under the constitution that any of a religious community do not dominate over the other. Third aspect, which is related with the secular in Indian constitution, as that the state does not enforce any particular religion. Any of a state, when we're talking about the Uttar Pradesh, where majority of the Hindus are there, still are the other communities living in Uttar Pradesh. Sikh community has also living in a parts of Kerala and Tamil Nadu. They are not having their state religion. Proper freedom has given to the individuals belong from the different religious groups. That is the secular idea followed in a constitution of India. Clear? As under the right to religious freedoms, we discussed that some of the aspects, each and every person is free to propagate, to profess and practice their religion. First aspect related with the right to freedom of religion. Second, as every individual, it is as free to change their religion. Means people can change their religion as independently. Nobody, it will restrict them. Clear? Third, all the public schools, places and offices which are governed by the government, by the public sector, by the government, they will be as a no discrimination will takes place on behalf of a religion, caste, religion, and gender. No discrimination will take place on behalf of a caste, race, and religion. Clear? Fourth one, any of a educational institute which are aided, which are supported by the government, they can't refuse for the admission of a child which has belongs from the minority groups, minority which are lesser in number. Those population, that population which is lesser in numerals, they will not discriminated by the majority. Clear? And fifth one, so those number of religious institutes, those number of institutes, the educational institutes which are owned and governed by the individuals and group of individuals, they can put efforts for the promotion of their religious communities, for which we took the example of Akal Academies, promotion of a Sikhism, Akal Academies, promotion of Sikhism, DAV institutes which are generally has work for the Hinduism, madrasas for the promotion of Islam, etc. Convent schools for Christianity. Clear? Convent schools for Christianity. So till there, any questions? Rest we will do on tomorrow. Any questions? Yes. Anybody having any query?